Candidates agree the economy is a top issue on the campaign trail, but how will their promises impact your wallet? In the International Business Times, personal finance editor Lauren Lyons-Cole writes, quote, choosing which presidential candidate to support can have a lasting impact on the American economy as well as your future paycheck. She looked into the tax plans of the leading candidates using research from the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center, and she broke down how much each candidate's plan would affect your taxes. Lauren Lyons-Cole is here with us. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
So how did you figure out how this would impact, how each plan would impact people?
Well, the Tax Policy Center really did that heavy-hitting work. They looked at all of the different plans and analyzed how your paycheck would change based on your annual income. So we just pulled that data in, put it into a calculator so that you can really see how your paycheck would potentially change depending on who gets elected.
So let's start with Donald Trump. How would his tax plan impact those making less than $55,000 a year?
So to his credit, Donald Trump proposes to increase everyone's paycheck. So if you're making less than, or let's say you are making $55,000 a year, you're going to see about $300 a month, about $150 per paycheck increase under a Donald Trump presidency, if, that is, he's able to get his tax plan through Congress, which may prove difficult.
And what about those on the higher end of the pay scale?
So with Trump, of course, it's going to benefit the wealthy the most. So as you go up, your paycheck would increase drastically, which would benefit him as well, I guess.
And to be clear, though, before we move on, though, most of the tax analysis shows, though, that his plan would also blow a hole in the deficit, right?
That's a very big point. So under his proposal, we would end up with $9.5 trillion in federal deficit over the next decade, which is just drastically greater than anything we've seen before.
It's a huge, adds a lot to the deficit. Okay.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Where does she stand in terms of a tax plan? Number one, what is the average salary in this country?
So the median salary is $54,000 in America, yeah. And getting to about $250,000 is where you're really in the top 1%.
All right, so let's go to Hillary Clinton.
Well, Hillary Clinton is very status quo. Her plan is very similar to what we have under President Obama. So if you've recently done your taxes, you could expect about the same, maybe a few dollars moving here or there, unless you earn over $1 million or over $5 million, and she wants to add a surtax to those people to raise a little bit of revenue for programs.
And now what about Ted Cruz? He's got a flat tax.
Right, so his is the most creative. He's not the first one to propose a flat tax, but he certainly wants to simplify our 75,000-page tax code that we have. But this plan would benefit the wealthy significantly more, even more so than Trump's, and people in the middle class would feel, maybe $50 in their paycheck, but not a huge difference under his flat tax proposal.
And how would Cruz's plan impact the deficit?
That would lead to an $8.6 trillion estimated deficit over the next decade. So it's still a very significant deficit. It would, in both cases, it would require a lot of cutting to the budget, to the federal budget.
And we should point out it's not just the Republicans who are adding to the deficit. Bernie Sanders' plan would add a lot to the deficit.
Well, so his is actually the reverse. His would raise so much tax revenue. It's actually more extreme than Donald Trump's proposal to cut taxes. Bernie Sanders would be raising taxes regardless of your income.
Even if you're making 20-something thousand, he would still raise the taxes.
Not a lot. It would be maybe $10, and for that you'd get health care. So it's a trade-off, and it's about understanding what's best for your situation.
So what income bracket do most people in this country fall into, and who is the best candidate for most people in the country?
So for most people, they're paying, taxes get complicated, but we're paying about 15% of our paychecks in federal taxes. That's not including state or city. And for most people, Donald Trump is going to put the most money back into your paycheck. Unless you really need health care, then Bernie Sanders is going to do a lot for you. Hillary Clinton's not going to change anything. So if you like the way things are, she'd be a good choice.
All right.
Lauren Lyons-Cole. Really interesting.
Something else to think about.
Yeah, no, I like breaking that
polls.
down. Just in
good
time
information.
As tax time is, we're all sending our paperwork and figuring out how much we owe.
Right.
Right, Gail?
Yes.
Yeah. Or not, as the case may be.
I'm just trying to hold even.
I know, hold even.
Hold even.